Discover the new 3-Step Pro Partial range, specifically designed to clean your partials and remaining teeth in 3 simple steps. Clean your partial, strengthen your natural teeth, protect your whole mouth. Stand up to further tooth loss with Polident Pro Partial. Available at Walmart.
Gym sessions and sweaty summer activities are back, which means more funky smells in your clothes because sweat leaves behind bacteria that causes those hard-to-remove odors. Clorox fabric sanitizer products are ready to zap the stink out of fabrics in your home by getting rid of 99.9% of odor-causing bacteria. Eliminate odors in every load or sanitize fabrics between washes with one of our fabric sanitizer products. Search fabric sanitizer at Clorox.com to learn more. When it counts, trust Clorox. Use as directed.
Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile AF, the podcast. This is episode 125 called Bailey. Today's episode is sponsored by Heirloom. Guys, moments matter, and now you can save them and share them in a physical book using Heirloom. Heirloom is a new, unique way to send memories and moments to friends and family, especially to loved ones who are far away. It's super simple to do. Just visit sendheirloom.com and upload up to 10 minutes of your videos. Select from one of their 9 custom covers, add a message on the inside cover, and you're done. Heirloom will then ship a video playing book right to your loved one. Plus, each video book is rechargeable so they can cherish it for a lifetime. Whether it's a milestone birthday, a holiday, a graduation, or just because, there's so many reasons to send an heirloom to someone you love. It's the perfect gift for those who don't have smartphones or who are not super tech savvy, but would still love to share those special moments with you. The price of an heirloom is normally $49, but if you use the promo code INFERTILEAF, you'll get $10 off your order. Again, go to sendheirloom.com, use code INFERTILEAF, and you'll get $10 off. Stay connected and share special moments in a lasting way with Heirloom. Thanks, Heirloom. All right, everybody. So today I'm talking to Bailey, who's in her mid-20s and who says, I don't see a lot of women out there who are going through exactly what I'm going through. And the reason that Bailey says that is because a few years ago, she was diagnosed with diminished ovarian reserve and POI. And although she's not actively trying to conceive right now, she is doing fertility preservation because she is married and she and her husband do want to have a family. And doctors have told her that she will probably go through menopause when she's about 30. So we're going to hear about everything that she's gone through, including the 4 rounds of IVF she's done so far, the ups and downs of freezing embryos, what's happened during each round, and where she stands right now. So I'm really glad that Bailey reached out to me because I'm sure that there are other women out there somewhere who are going through this and who are dying to connect with other people like Bailey was and is. And I hope, and Bailey hopes, that this does exactly that. So if you are going through this, you're going through early menopause, or you're in your 20s and you're facing fertility treatments, definitely tune into this one. I want to thank Bailey so much for being brave and for sharing her truth. And without further ado, this is Bailey's infertility story. Hey, Bailey, I'm so glad we got to talk. Thank you for doing this. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I know you are in a hotel room in Chicago. You just told me that. But before we get to why you're there and what you're doing, let's start at the beginning with you.
Yeah, so my drives to my clinic are 3 hours each way. So I've been listening to podcasts, and the more I listened to yours, the more I just felt like I needed to tell my story, because I don't see a lot of women out there who are going through exactly what I'm going through because I'm so young, just because I have diminished ovarian reserve and POI. So that's why I really wanted to share my story, just because I wanted other women who are in their 20s and early 30s who are going through the same thing to know that they're not alone, because I'm not trying to conceive actively right now. I'm doing it fertility preservation, which is not out there a lot.
Yes. I'm so glad you reached out, and you're exactly right. I've talked to a couple people who are in their 20s and kind of in the same situation. One was a cancer survivor who was doing fertility preservation, but Tell me about, when did you find out that you even needed to go down this road? So what was happening with you health-wise?
Yeah. So, as we all know, the pandemic hit in March of last year.
Wait, what?
Right. What?
Never heard of it.
And my survival job at the time was working for a medical office, and it was so stressful working there. And I started, getting really bad night sweats, like where I would wake up just like drenched, and like my hair was falling out in huge clumps. Mm-hmm. And, I just honestly assumed it was stress from the pandemic.
So this was just in the past year?
Correct.
Okay.
And didn't really think much of it until it kept getting worse. And then I reached out to my psychiatrist because I was like, oh, well, a lot of anxiety or depression meds can have those sort of side effects. And he was like, no, you've been on them too long for that to have happened. So I just happened to have scheduled my like annual OB appointment in July of last year.
Okay.
And I told my gynecologist in Virginia, I felt like my hormones were out of whack, because I have an IUD. So I was like, oh, well, maybe something funky is happening. And she said, okay, we'll just check your levels. And then I remember very clearly I was at work in my office and I get a phone call from her. Her name is Dr. Swanson. And she told me like, your levels are a little off, but the biggest thing that I want to talk to you about right now is that your AMH is incredibly low. So my AMH at the time was 0.5.
Okay. Did you even know what AMH was?
No, I had no idea.
Okay, good. I didn't either. So she explained it all to you, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And she was like, basically just told me like, you need to go freeze your eggs right now. That's what you have to do if you want to have a chance of having a kid. And I remember just after I got off the phone with her, and I didn't even ask her enough questions because I was so shocked. I didn't, it's like, what do you say to that?
Right. Yeah.
So I got off the phone and then I called my husband, like just sobbing. Like I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know, what our next step would be because IVF is so expensive.
So you're already married at the time. So when did you get married? You got married young.
Oh yeah. I got married. I was a baby. I got married a month after I graduated college. So I was 22.
Okay.
My husband's 2 years older than me. We had moved to the DC area from Utah for him to pursue his PhD. So that's why we were there. Okay. And within 2 weeks of finding out, I was moving to Illinois for grad school. So I couldn't, just immediately take control of this because even if I saw a fertility specialist in the Virginia area, I was going to move in 2 weeks. So what do I do? And I was kind of in denial. So I went and got it rechecked right before I left, and it had gone down to 0.1.
Whoa. So what were they telling you? Why was it so low?
They had no idea. I mean, I've spoken with the Mayo Clinic for an appointment as well, and they're convinced, they kept asking me like, you sure you didn't have like cancer treatments as a child? And I was like, I'm pretty sure. I think I would remember.
I think I would remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or being like, you don't have an autoimmune disorder. I'm like, no. Do you have endometriosis? I don't know.
Okay.
So
did you get that all checked out?
For endometriosis, like really the only way to know is if you go in there with surgery for certain. And so even if I did that, it wouldn't make a difference.
Okay. Right.
So I don't know.
Right. Honestly. So is it kind of unexplained at this point? Like, is that the diagnosis?
Yeah, basically, because they don't know what causes it, POI, which is primary ovarian insufficiency. Okay. Or it's sometimes known as a primary ovarian failure. They don't know why it happens in young women.
Not to be confused with PIO, which is progesterone in oil. There's so many acronyms.
Yeah. So
we have an acronym list on Fertility Rally website.
I've
a lot of other places do too. But
yeah, I've definitely checked it because I go around. I'm like, what does that mean?
I know we need to update it. I feel like because there's other things that I've heard about recently too, like IVM. But anyway, different story. Okay, good. Keep going.
Yeah. So, and I've joined multiple Facebook groups, and basically no one knows why, unless you have had cancer treatments. Other than that, they don't know why it happens.
Wow. So when you got this news, you were obviously devastated. What did your husband say?
So his name's Christian. He's always been so supportive. His first initial response was, well, then we should have a kid now. And I told him absolutely not.
Okay.
I was 25 at the time. I said, I'm about to start grad school. Like, our idea was that we were always going to have kids in our mid to late 30s, just because that's just something we felt like we would be quote unquote ready for at that point in our lives, especially since we got married so young. So I told him absolutely not. It's not happening.
Right.
So yeah. And then I just Googled fertility clinics, Illinois, and happened to I think the second one was Vios. And I clicked on it and called them immediately and scheduled.
We love Vios.
I love them so much.
I work with them a ton. I've had Ruhi Gilani on my podcast, Dr. Gilani, who you know, because she's your doctor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, we do a lot of events with them. Vios is the best.
Yeah, because I hear they sponsor your episodes sometimes.
They do sometimes,
like,
yes. Yeah, they're just really great. And it's all, mostly females, which I love. They're just really, really cool and like kind of disruptors in the industry. They're doing, some groundbreaking stuff, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I did no research. I just called and said, can I get an online consult? And they were like, sure, we're going to put you with Dr. Jelani. And I was like, cool, great. Like, I did not research anything.
Okay, so you didn't know she's like an Instagram superstar.
I had no idea. So by that point, we were in Illinois. We'd moved. And I remember my first consult with her over Zoom just being so shocked by how open she was. I mean, she immediately gave me her phone number. She's like, text me whenever you need, which, that's shocking. I've never had a doctor just give me their personal cell phone number.
I know. She's great like that. Yep.
And she like had a game plan. She's like, okay, you're going to come in for testing. Christian's going to come in for testing. We're going to check all your levels again. We're going to do all this stuff. And this was probably like 3 weeks before I started grad school, before the semester started. And so then we got our results back and Christian was totally fine. Mine, on the other hand, my FSH was high, which is an indicator of POI. And my AMH level was incredibly low. Okay. And she was like, we have to start now. And I was like, wait, I haven't even started the school yet.
Oh my God. So by start, she means start like the stims and egg freezing process?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I pushed it back because I wanted to start off the school year without worrying about it, even though she really explained to me, like, there's no guarantee that your AMH will stay at the level it is. As I've seen, it can drop from 0.5 to 0.1 in just a few short weeks. But, and I remember our first consultation, she said, how do you feel about donor eggs? And at the time I was like, oh yeah, I guess. Right. And as I've gone through this process, I've realized, how much of a big deal that is. So I started my first round of stims for egg freezing in late October.
Okay.
And
mid-pandemic.
Yeah. Mid-pandemic.
Good fun, right?
So
what did that mean? What was the protocol that you guys had discussed doing?
Yeah. So I was on like 300 of Menopur, like 450 of Follistim. I was on letrozole, Omnitrope, which is a human growth hormone, which I had never heard of. And probably Ganirelix, I think, probably a few other things, but it was so much medicine. I was so overwhelmed when it came in the mail.
Oh my God. Can I tell you something? Even hearing the names of these meds, which I hear all the time in our groups and stuff, but it still gives me like I have a physical, visceral reaction. Like it's like PTSD, like my body, like my stomach just started to hurt, like thinking about all these meds and like being on them. It's so crazy how that never really goes away.
Yeah. And I was lucky that my insurance through the school, through Illinois, because it's a mandated state, would cover my labs and my procedure of the egg retrieval, but it would not cover the meds, no matter how hard I tried. So spending, $8,000 on medicine.
No, it's such a gut punch.
Yeah. And thankfully my parents and my in-laws and my grandparents, helped. I'm super grateful. I mean, we still had to put a lot of it like on our credit cards, and I don't even want to think about that right now.
I know. You're like, well, we get points at least. Yeah.
And I totally was so clueless. I mean, even the nurses were like, oh, you're so young, your egg quality will be great. Like, you don't need to worry. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm only going to have to do this once. It's not going to be a big deal. I'll get so many eggs, because women, who are in their 20s, like that's like the prime egg freezing.
Right.
And then I went through it, and that was the worst stims of my life, I think, just because it's the first one. I called my mom, and my mom drove up and spent 2 weeks with us, like helping me give myself shots and, just helping me take me to my appointments. Thanks, Mom. And I remember just being so overwhelmed the whole time, but so, just clueless as to how many I would get. I was like, oh, I'm going to get like 30 eggs. It's going to be great. I'm never going to do this again. And then I went in, and I had 15 follicles, and out of 15 of those follicles, 11 had eggs. Only 8 were mature. 5 fertilized, because when I came out, they were like, you only have 8 eggs. And I was like, oh, okay. That doesn't seem great. And they were like, our suggestion would be to just make them all embryos, because it's a better chance of them surviving thaw.
I was just going to ask you that. Did they talk to you about possibly creating embryos? Yeah.
Yeah. Because my original plan was to freeze half as embryos and half as eggs. Because I'm a planner. I'm like, Christian, like, what if you get hit by a bus, one day?
Right.
And, I want to have.
Why would you not do all as embryos, just out of curiosity?
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Just because I just wanted to have that option of like having just eggs and just embryos. Because Dr. Delaney explained it, like she's had people only freeze embryos and none of them have made it through thaw. And she's had people who've only done eggs and none of them. So she suggested, doing
half and half.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had never thought of it that way. So I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. And so when they told me I had 8, I'm high off of the anesthesia. Right. And they're like, what do you want to do? We suggest you make them all embryos. And I was like, okay. So 5 fertilized, only 4 made it to blast. I sent them for PGT testing. I know people have, opinions on PGT, genetic testing, but in my view, I was like, why would I pay an $800 storage fee a year if they're embryos I can't even use?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So sent them off, and out of those 4, 2 were able to be tested, and the 2, 1 came back normal and 1 came back like very abnormal. So I have 1 at that point, 1 embryo.
Okay. So how did that feel when you got those numbers back?
I was so upset. I was like, what are you talking about? I only have 1. I started off with like 5.
Right.
And, I was so upset. And Dr. Jelani was great, because she apologized for not like, setting our expectations, not really explaining like, out of all of these, only like 60% fertilized. And out of that, it's like a 50%, abnormal rate or whatever it was. And she was like, great, you have 1, you need at least 4 to 6. And so she said, a back-to-back IVF is usually better because your body's like ready to go. And I was like, I did not want to do it again.
You didn't?
I did not. And I was like, all right, let's do it. If she says it's going to be better, let's do it. So off I go into my second round of egg retrieval. We did a different protocol. It was Lupron based.
Okay.
And that one wasn't as bad. I didn't feel as crummy. I didn't feel like there were softballs in my abdomen this time.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And went in for that retrieval, and I believe it was something like, I had 5 follicles total. So it was even less.
Oh, wow.
And then I think out of those, they got 4 mature eggs. And they were able to fertilize all of them, because again, they gave me the option, like, do you want to do half as eggs, half as embryos? And I said, well, there's only 4, so we might as well just make them all embryos.
Right.
And after that, none made it past day 3.
Oh God.
So I had nothing to test.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I mean, it's
so
not
hard.
okay, but it is hard. It fucking sucks.
Right. And you feel like you're just burning money. You're like, I might as well just literally take a lighter and burn these like $100 bills. Like,
yeah, I literally just felt like I set fire to all my money and that I had nothing to show for it other than a lot of bruises on my stomach.
Right. Yeah. And emotionally, like I always love to get into this bit. How was it affecting your relationship? Because this is stressful.
Yeah, it really affected our relationship, both good and bad. You know, bad in the sense of that I went nuts, like, you know, all the hormones and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, just being irrationally angry.
Yes.
For no, like, I remember we were in Chicago for our egg retrieval and we had pulled up to the hotel and my husband called it by, we were staying at the Hampton and he called it by, I think the Hilton, and I screamed at him for calling it the wrong name, like full on screamed at him.
Been there. Okay. Yep.
Thanks, Christian. Love you.
Yeah. Hey, Christian.
And he told me it's strengthened our relationship because he sees, quote, like how strong I am, like how unbelievably hard this has been on my body and mentally, and how I'm willing to do it. And he says I'm the strongest person he knows, and it's hard for me to accept that. Do you know what I mean? Because I see what all these other women go through on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm like, I'm like, I don't know if I even consider myself, you know, an IVF warrior because I'm not trying to get pregnant. Do you know what I mean?
But here's what I would say to that. This is my unsolicited advice. It's not the pain Olympics. It's not a comparison game. Like, you are going through a shit ton. And, you know, like, I feel like as women, we often diminish our own struggles because you like always see somebody else and you're like, well, I don't have it as bad as her or whatever. But the fact of the matter is you're going through a ton and you are so strong. So I would say own it and, you know, don't worry about the labels or whatever. And, you know, I know there's a lot of feelings of people aren't sure whether or not they belong in the like, quote unquote, infertility community. And I say, if you want to be here, I mean, nobody wants to be here, but if you, you know, you belong. If you're going through something, you belong here and you can find people that are going through the same thing as you. So that's just my little bit.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. It's been really hard. You know, I go into these appointments and all the women are, you know, in their late 30s, early 40s.
Right.
You know, and I've never seen someone my age in the clinic.
Right.
Ever.
I know that's got to feel isolating as well.
And I get looks sometimes like, you know, like, why is she here? She's so young. Like, she'll probably get pregnant. No big deal. And I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to do.
I know. And you would hope that the other people in the clinics would know better and realize, like, obviously you're going through something. Like, let's not judge here. Let's not be quick to, you know, like, if anything, the story that you're sharing right now, like, hopefully young women will hear this, reach out to you, you know, connect with you if you are open to that. And then also maybe other women will realize, oh, when I see someone in their 20s in the clinic, they're going through some shit too. So I shouldn't give them those looks, you know?
Your AC works overtime all summer, so be sure to replace your old air filters with new FERTILITY air filters. They recommend updating HVAC filters at least every 3 months all year round. So order your FERTILITY air filters today at FERTILITY.com. Let's clear the air.
Anyone can be ready for back to school, but with Staples Connect, you can be more than ready. Like, I got everything from my classroom and saved a ton ready. We've got more backpacks, more pens, and more supplies than you ever thought possible. So double knot your shoes, gas up the minivan, and smear war paint on your face. Staples has everything you need and more for the new school year. Let's do this. Just visit your nearest Staples store or go to staplesconnect.com for inspiration.
Yeah. And I remember like listening to your episodes, like you said, you know, you would look so irritated at other women who had a baby already in the clinics and you were just trying to have one, or the person was just trying to have one. And it's like, why are they trying for two? Like, I can't even get one. And it made me realize, like, I can't judge anyone who's in there.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that was round 2. And I think round 2 really hit me hard because I felt like I was grieving, but it's like grieving for something you don't know if you will ever have. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, completely.
So like, you know, just grieving for the fact of like, what if I never have my own biological child? What if this never works? And feeling horrible that I can't give that to my husband. Do you know what I mean? Because he's always wanted kids, even if it's later in life. So after round 2, we had our like, what the fuck appointment with Dr. Jelani. And she was like, you had, your egg quality was really bad. Like, let's take a break for a few weeks and then let's do it again. And so I took a few weeks off. And then my idea was, okay, I'll do round 3 over Christmas break before the spring semester of grad school. I won't have to worry about, making appointments or missing class. Like, it'll be great. I'll finish right before I start school again. And I stemmed that round for 23 days.
Whoa.
It was horrible.
That's long.
I think it's a world record. I don't know.
What was happening? Your body was slow to respond, or like?
Yeah, I'm a slow responder anyways, but yeah, my estrogen just wasn't going up. My left ovary just shut down. My right ovary had 1 follicle. And at this point, my AMH was, really, really, really low. And I was determined, that this was going to work. And, they wanted me to take a week off and restart. And I was like, I can't do that because of school. And so I said, let's just keep going. And I remember, I think it was like day 20. I was driving home from my clinic, which is 3 hours away. And when they called me and told me that I had to continue stims, I remember pulling off the side of the road and just screaming, being like, when is this going to end? I felt trapped. And I remember Dr. Jelani called me while I was on the side of the highway, like sobbing.
Oh, and, Bailey.
I was sobbing. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And the clinic was recommending I just, cancel the whole cycle. And Dr. Jelani called me like in the middle of all, everything she does and, talked me through it, like talked me off the cliff.
Yeah.
And I was like, we'd rather keep going than stop, because we'd rather at least try than have nothing. And which has stuck with me to this day. And so we went forward with it, and I had 4 follicles finally.
Okay.
Went in for retrieval. And it was funny because it was another doctor who did my retrieval, and she was like, very patiently explaining every little step, like, hey, you're going to go in there and we're going to put you under and we're going to get the eggs. And once we get the egg, and I was like, this is my 3rd rodeo. Like, I know how it works.
You're like, lady, I've been here before. Yeah. At
this point though, the only thing I look forward to in my retrievals is the anesthesia.
That's awesome.
Like, it's so funny. Every time I go in there, I'm like, they're trying to talk to me. I was like, can you just put it in my arm? Yeah.
You're like, before we get started, a little dose here.
Yeah. And they have like dream catchers above where you lay down, which is so funny because, you're high and you're just like seeing all
this. Oh my God. I love it.
And out of those 4 follicles, they got 4 eggs. Only 2 were mature, and they were able to grow them in the lab a little bit before they fertilized them. We've used ICSI every time because I was not taking a chance. I was just like, everything you can do to make this work, do it. Put it on the credit card.
Yeah. Put it on my tab.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, they always, ask for a deposit before each round. And during this 4th one, I've just like, do I have to? Like, I'm good for it.
Right.
But out of those 2, none fertilized.
Oh God.
So I was left with nothing.
Okay. So this is round 3.
That was round 3.
Oof.
Yeah. Really, really hard.
So do you have friends who, like, while you're going through this, who are starting to have babies and stuff?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Really hard because like I see that and they're so cute and like, but I don't have the desire to have one now, but I want to, in 5, 6, 7 years from now do. So it's hard to not feel jealous, and it's hard to not feel like, wow, why can they do this so easily? Why did no one tell me when I was 20 I should have frozen my eggs? Why did no one ever check my levels 3 years ago and could have seen this coming before it was too late?
Right. Exactly.
I actually connected with someone from high school who I didn't really run in the same circles with. I know her, and she has unexplained fertility, and just getting to reconnect with her and like talk, have someone my own age who's going through somewhat the same thing.
Right.
Good news, she's pregnant. Yay.
Oh, good.
But yeah, at this point I was broken. 3 rounds, I only have 1 embryo to show for it. And so I decided to take a break.
Okay. So when was this?
That was January.
Okay. So January of 2021.
You got it.
Okay.
So I said, I'm just going to focus on school. I had an appointment with Dr. Jelani, our third what the fuck appointment. And she was like, take a break. Maybe your body needs it. Like, take supplements, which I'd never thought of until, about right before round 3. And it wasn't enough time to take them. And so I took supplements, and she said, we're going to do a testosterone prime for round 4. So call me when you're ready. And so I took supplements, like the giant horse pills, that you don't know if they work or not, or who knows what's in them. And I'm just like shoving them down 3 times a day. Oh my God, choking them down. Did she explain to you what the testosterone was going to do? She said, basically, I'm not really good with science, but she basically was like, it will rev up your body. Okay. And since I'm going through menopause, I'm perimenopausal. So I'm going through all those awesome symptoms like night sweats, hot flashes, hair loss, everything you can think of that. And so she's like, it'll actually make you feel better. And I was like, great. I'm so looking forward to that. Yeah. Because my mother is going through menopause right now, and like, you're like, we're twinning, but I don't want to be. Like, I'm going through a personal summer, and I was like, me too right now. This is not fair. I have a twin sister, and she's not going through any of this. Oh, wow. Are you guys identical or fraternal? We're fraternal. Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. She's actually graduating medical school in 2 weeks. Yay. What's her name? So her name is Savannah. Hi, Savannah. Okay. So she doesn't have any fertility issues as far as you guys know? Correct. Wow. That's interesting. And since she's in medical school, I call with like pictures of my labs and like, ask her like, what does this mean? I don't know. Tell me right now. Is this bad? Yeah, I would do the same. And like all of her classmates know. So it's pretty funny when I went and visited like during her match day, they're like asking me questions. Yeah, you're like the case study. Yeah, basically. Yeah. So in March, I went in for my like blood work appointment. You have to do like a pre-blood work appointment to make sure like you're good to go for a testosterone prime. And it was awesome news because my AMH was better because the supplements I'm assuming the supplements I took were helping it. That's great. You cannot raise your AMH. It's not possible to like get more eggs, right? As we know, like you are only born with how many eggs you were given. But when the level goes up, basically my understanding is that means like the fluid around them is better. Like your egg quality is better. Wow. So it doesn't mean you've grown more, but they're better quality. Gotcha. And, so I was good to go. So I started testosterone in April. Oh my God, loved it. Sounds like you respond well to drugs in general. It was great. Other than it gave me like crazy acne. That's TMI, but it made me great. Like my sex life was better. Oh, wow. My hormone, because ever since all of this, before this happened, my sex life was going downhill because I have no libido. Gotcha. And then once you're in IVF treatments, right, you can't have sex while you're doing stims. And then you have to wait, like 2 weeks after each retrieval before you can. And I joke with Christian, I was like, well, technically we've had sex like 4 times already. If you count like when you go into the clinic and give them your sample. Right. You're like, we haven't been together, but technically we've made a baby. Sure. I know. It's so weird, isn't it? The whole thing is so weird. It's so weird. At this point, I started giving myself my own shots. I said I would never give myself a Menopur shot, but round 4, here we go. I was like, Christian, I don't need you. Just watch the dog. I'm going to poke myself with needles. So I'm in round 4 right now. I'm in Chicago right now to go hopefully for my last monitoring appointment. Because I feel like there's basketballs inside. And I went from having when I started this after the testosterone prime, they were like, you have 5 follicles on each ovary. And I was like, oh my God. And like the nurses were celebrating because like they know I only have like maybe 1 to 2 on each side. And it's like, you know, I'm just like, woohoo, 5, which is not a lot, but like to me, that's such a big deal.
Yeah. I get it.
And then because I'm such a slow responder, you know, normally you go every couple days for monitoring, and they were like, just come back in a week. And I was like, great, I'll see you in a week.
Okay.
So when I went back earlier this week, they were like, you have 9 follicles on one side and 10 on the other.
Wow.
And I was like, holy fuck. Like that's more than I've had in my life. And so, they're like, come in on Wednesday. They wanted me to have an ultrasound, which is today. Have an ultrasound with the head ultrasound tech.
Okay.
Prior
the big dogs are coming out.
Yeah.
Like, we're not fucking around, Bailey. We got the head of ultrasound.
Yeah. So I'm here waiting, and you know, round 4, it's like, how did I get here? You know what I mean? Like, I thought I would only do 1, and now I'm round 4. And when I did my taxes this year, I did, you know, my medical expenses. Yeah. Just for 2020, I spent $27,000.
Oh my God. Ugh, that makes me feel ill.
Yeah.
Totally.
But I'm like really hoping this one works because my husband is moving to California this summer because he's got a big boy job.
Okay.
But I'll be here finishing up my degree.
Wow. So is he a professor, you said?
Yes, he's going to be a professor at Cal State Fullerton.
Wow. That's awesome.
And
so you'll be there. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be here in Illinois while he's in California. So this is kind of like our last hurrah before he leaves. And then if it doesn't work, if this cycle goes poorly, which knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't, just because there's follicles doesn't mean they're good eggs. I don't know if we'll do it again.
Okay.
And that's really scary. And I think a lot of the reason I chose to do my 3rd one is because I couldn't see myself not doing it. Yeah. Because of this community that you're in. There's kind of like also like a sense of comfort having that schedule, you know, of like, okay, I have to do shots in the morning, shots in the evening.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for having a plan. Yeah. You know, there's so much uncertainty in infertility that when you're doing something, you feel like, okay, I'm doing everything I can do right now. And that feels good.
Yeah. And so taking a break was really hard in a way, because I was like, I feel like I'm not doing anything for myself. And, you know, over the break, we had a lot of conversations, Christian and I, and then, you know, unsolicited advice from friends and families. I never understood, you know, why it was, you know, rude to say like, why can't you just adopt, or why can't you just do donor egg, or why you should just stop because clearly God doesn't want you to have babies.
Oh, did people say that to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they can fuck right off, Bailey. Give them my number. Tell them I want to talk to them.
And that was really hard. I mean, even hearing from family, like, this is so much money, like you probably should just stop and look for another avenue. And that was really hard.
Yeah. I think sometimes people are obviously coming from a good place and not wanting to see you hurt and not wanting to see you suffer. But it's also like, you got to do you.
Yeah. And like, you know, even my nurses were like, you have a twin? Like, just ask her for eggs.
Oh.
And during the stims from hell that lasted 23 days, at that point I did call my twin sister, and, you know, say like, I don't expect an answer now, but if this doesn't work, like, would you think about, you know, giving me your eggs? And that was such a hard conversation, because like, how do you ask your sister that? Like, do you give her flowers and say, can I have your eggs? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. You're like, case of White Claw, tradesies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. So how did it go? What did she say?
She said she would have to talk to her husband about it. And you know what? I can't blame her, because, you know, it's her body.
Totally.
You know, like, we're not identical. We're fraternal. And, you know, when it came down to right before we started this round, I asked her again. I said, I really need to have an answer, because, you know, if you're going to, then I'm not going to do this. I'm going to save my money for that. And she basically said, you know, I won't be able to give you an answer until I have my own children. Like, and you know, that was hard. Just knowing, because like I don't have time to wait. Because when I talked to the Mayo Clinic, they're like, yeah, you'll probably go through menopause within 5 years. So probably right around the time I'm 30. And I'm sorry.
Oh, why are you apologizing?
Because I'm crying.
It's okay.
And that was really hard to hear.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, I can't blame her, you know, because it's her body, it's her family, you know. Just because she's my twin sister, that doesn't give me a guarantee.
Completely.
Yeah. And, you know, like at the same time, I was so angry with her. And at the same time, so understanding. So that was probably, out of all of this, the hardest conversation I've had with her. Because, you know, that basically meant like, you know, no, not right now. And, you know, maybe she'll change her mind in the future and maybe I'll need that. But, you know, for now, I spoke with my husband. He was like, you know, we should not try to persuade her. That's not something that we should do. You know, it has to come from her. Because that's a really big decision.
Of course. And I'm sure on top of your feelings of like feeling, you know, kind of disappointed or angry, it's like, fuck, why do I even have to be in this position? You know, there's the anger for that you even have to ask, you know, like,
yeah.
So I think it's layered. It's like layered levels of hurt and anger and disappointment.
Yeah. It's just, and then you're on hormones, which does not help. And,
right.
You know, and, you know, she's going into residency for surgery. Like she's going to be in school for 7 years. You know, and, you know, when would she have time to take off to do this? Right.
Yeah.
Like to do an egg retrieval, right? That's something to consider as well. So I've let that go. It took a while to let that go.
Yeah. That's understandable. Totally.
And I even I have like some profiles on donor egg websites, but it's so weird. You know, and like you're looking through these women's pictures and you're like, well, do I pick someone who looks like me or do I pick someone who has like all these personality traits and quote unquote degree or qualifications, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So here I am, the fourth round. And it's hard to have an idea of what I will feel after this, you know, like, will I have this strong desire to do it one more time? Is it worth doing one more time? Because, you know, I'm 26 years old. Like that's so hard to like fathom, like make such a life altering decision, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I guess, you know, you'll find out what happens today at your appointment and then you go from there. You know, I feel like sometimes you just have to take it day by day. You might feel differently today than you feel tomorrow, you know? So, you know, if you can try, maybe it's so much easier said than done, but try not to put pressure on yourself and, you know, but I feel for you. It's tricky. And sometimes I remember thinking, I just want someone to make these decisions for me. Like it's so overwhelming and daunting to have to make these huge life altering decisions that don't have any guarantees.
Exactly.
No, that was really hard for me.
Yeah. It's like you're doing all this for a chance.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So, but I love my husband and I love my twin sister and I love my family. And, you know, that's all at the end of the day, that's all I can ask for.
Right. Of course.
We'll take it day by day is what I try to do.
All right, my loves. Thank you everybody so much for listening. And thanks again to Bailey for that incredible story. Fingers crossed, rooting for you so hard, girl, as you continue. I know you're having another round coming up this winter. So we will be following along your story as well. So best of luck to you and definitely keep in touch. Guys, if you need some support, I always want to let you know about Fertility Rally, which is the membership community that I co-founded. We are over 300 members strong right now, and we would love to have you join our family. We've got so many offerings, so many different levels of support. There's support groups. We've got website with curated content. We've got all these events that we do all the time. We actually have our next fertility rally live coming up this fall, and we're planning that right now. So lots of cool stuff. Hit us up on Instagram at Fertility Rally, or you can check out our website, fertilityrally.com. Membership is open the first week of every month, but you can always sign up to get on our wait list, or you can reach out to me directly if you have any questions. So we would love to rally like mofos with you guys. All right, thanks for listening. Talk to you guys soon.
This is Mission Control. The tallest, fastest, and longest steel coaster at Kings Island needs you. Must be able to handle a 300-foot drop and speeds up to 91 miles per hour while dodging meteors. No training required. Are you up for the challenge?
Introducing Orion at Kings Island, one of only 7 giga coasters in the world. Get the best deal on tickets at visitkingsisland.com.